Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I want to blame Dr. Noah. He took all the energy from the audience over here. I don't know how can I grasp your attention after a very interactive presentation you did. Thank you. I will be talking about the industrial strategy in Emirate of Dubai. If you look historically, Dubai always used to be known as a trade hub, and then logistic hub, and then people hub by having the tourism over here and the financial sector. So it was always known for supporting and focusing on four main strategic sectors. And then when Dubai 2021 was established, government decided to look at the industrial sector. There are a lot of initiatives scattered between government agencies and the private sector. If we look at the historically, Dubai always was self-dependent and not on the oil-based GDP. And as you can see over here, the four main sectors generated almost 60% of total Dubai's GDP. And for the last decade, industrial sector presented almost 12% of Dubai's GDP. So that was where government decided to look at industrial sector and have a full holistic policy and strategy to help and sustain the development of the industrial sector in Dubai. What are the main aims of the industrial strategy is to become a global platform, knowledge-based, sustainable, and innovative industrial sector in Dubai. As I mentioned previously, industrial sector was generous into contributing to our GDP, and we are aiming to have an industrial sector that supports the growth engine, increases the manufacturing outputs, and increases the value added of local industries in Dubai, for Dubai and for the globe. As Dr. Noah also mentioned, the innovation, it's important to adapt the changes that's happening globally and introduce the R&D and the real-time factors into our industrial sector in Dubai by supporting the private sector through the ecosystem and giving them the right tools and allowing them to focus on the R&Ds in Dubai. And no doubt Dubai is always want to be a host for everything. So we're aiming through the industrial strategy to have Dubai as a global home for large industrial companies in Dubai, and as well as not neglecting the importance of the environmental aspects. Dubai is committed to green energy initiatives, and there are a lot of initiatives in the industrial sector that supports that. And of course, definitely the scarcity of energy to reduce the energy consumptions in the industrial sector in Dubai. And Dubai is pitching to be a global economy for Islamic, for a holistic Islamic economy, and in which we are pitching to have a lot of certified halal manufacturers to be produced in Dubai, for Dubai, and globally. So these are the main strategy and the 5 themes that we are working on. If we look at what are the sectors the strategy is focusing on, the aerospace industry, the maritime industry, the pharmaceutical industry, metal industry, and the FMCG, and machinery and equipment. If you notice over here, there weren't any new industries created. These are all existing industries that Dubai was working on, and basically the whole point of the strategy is to uplift these sectors and enhance it and make it more efficient. What are we aiming as a target in the long-term target of the strategy? If we look at it from the GDP contribution, by implementing the initiatives of the strategy, we are aiming to have an additional of 6% CAGR on the industrial sector over the period of the strategy, and as well as having additional 18 billion dirham increase in our GDP, increase 13% in the specialized job, and by here we're talking about the high-skilled jobs, in Dubai by having a lot of R&D in it and automations and real-time factors into the industrial sector, as well as the spending on the research by itself. This sector, unfortunately, the focus of R&D was only precisely by the private sector, and in which we wanted to create a full ecosystem for government and private sector to share and support the R&Ds and contribute more into the enhancement and giving the value added for the sector, as well as increasing the exports, which Mr. Saad, they're heavily working on increasing the exports of Dubai goods. In overall, there are 70 initiatives scattered into the sectors we are focusing on, and 13 initiatives, and by initiatives I mean large initiatives with action plans on it, scattered through all rest of the sectors in Dubai. As of 2016, just for the sake of transparency, what has been achieved after the kickoff of the strategy. Let's take, for example, in the aerospace sector, the introduction of future foresight for airports and 10X. This was supported by the DIS, Government of Dubai, Dubai Economy, and the 10X to support the Dubai airports to implement such initiative. And from the maritime perspective, we have the expansion of assigned area for maritime industries in Dubai, in dry dock and other areas. And if we take pharmaceutical, for example, the first manufacturing plant for Dubai pharmaceutical industry, which will be located in Dubai Science Park. And there are a lot of initiatives and sectors within the pharmaceutical, for example, blood plasma, 3D printing, as mentioned by Dr. Noah, for the pharmaceutical goods, which will be implemented very soon in Dubai. If we look at the metals industry, we were known for Dubai and the aluminium industry in Dubai, but now it came the time to focus on the downstream for the aluminium in Dubai, to focus on it and build it and export even more opportunities in the downstream industry of aluminum in Dubai. For the FMCG, we're very grateful to have Unilever to operate in Dubai, for Dubai and for the region. It started last year as well as the machinery and equipment. This is the largest sector within the industrial sector in Dubai. There are a lot of new companies that established and operating in Dubai, and as well as Dr. Saad's team, they supported the federal government in having the Made in UAE and providing full-fledged support for the industrial sectors to export globally. If we go back to the strategy and the main themes of the strategy, there are a bunch of KPIs, and this is for the sake of transparency for the rest of the people to know how reliable the strategy is. If you can see, these are very high-level KPIs over here. I think there's an issue with the font. Most of the initiatives are achievable, are being implemented by both government entities, state-owned enterprises, and the private sectors. We need to do a lot of, we need to focus more on attracting more exports of growth for the industrial goods that are manufactured in Dubai. And from the innovation perspective, we are pitching to be a very smart city. And by having no data into our research and development spending by the private sector, that gave a red flag for the government to establish a proper survey and statistics to build a solid platform for research and development spending. We know that there are different companies that they're doing their researches in Dubai, but it's not gathered into one place. So this is a red flag that government commissioned entities to work on. And in terms of halal manufacturing, we are working closely with them to support the Islamic economy and develop the Islamic goods in Dubai. From a figures perspective, after DIS was implemented, There were many initiatives that we have discussed previously. It supported the industrial sector. If we look at 2016's figure, the industrial sector contributed almost 10% to the total GDP of Dubai, and it gave a significant growth from 0.6% to 3.4% in 2016, noting how 2016 economically was in Dubai and overall the globe. So this is very briefly DIS and where are we so far and what's our pitch for the future. Thank you.